is that last year we did Lion King Junior, which was with a cast of 50 kids. Yeah. I've worked with like your grade 4 to 6 kind of age group. I've worked with teenagers, and I've worked with obviously students and graduates. And so we actually are sharing space with another production that we have on at the moment, which is called The Wonderful World of Beatrix Potter. So that, just the scheduling around, and then we also run our workshops.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.
It is definitely make that 24 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock, and I have to remind you that you are tuned into TUT FM 96.2. We are definitely amplifying voices, empowering lives. It is a Wednesday, and it is definitely a Plug a Graduate. And tonight we are definitely diving into one I think is a very exciting conversation, right, about the power of theatre in terms of shaping the 21st century skills and the incredible opportunities available for young graduates in the stars in the arts one. Say. And joining us for that particular conversation is Ms. Tamara Schultz, who is now the fundraising and project director at the National Children's Theatre. She is definitely here to share insights on how this theatre fosters essential skills like creativity, communication, and well as leadership. Without wasting time, Mr. Schultz, good evening and welcome to the Groundbreakers.
Hi there. Thanks for having us on the show. It's really nice to be here.
And definitely. And before we get into the heart of this conversation, I want to give people a little bit of a snippet about you, the type of work that you do, so they know you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Tamara has worked as a freelancer theatre educator, designer, director, playwright for 25 plus years, right? Writing and staging plays for a variety of audience and purposes. She is now currently, like I mentioned, with the National Children's Theatre, where she holds the fundraising and special projects portfolio. Ms. Tamara is passionate about the cultural and creative industries and in the power of the imagination and creative arts to then steer us through, uncertain times. And to understand, for people that might not know what the Children's Theatre is, it is then the foremost theatre organization in Gauteng, shining the bright light for educational, engaging and award-winning theatre for children and youth throughout South African cities and rural areas. Ms. Tamara, I think that sums it up. We'll definitely continue coming into those. I want to understand and even ask you, how are you? Have you had a great day?
I've had a great day. We've been very busy at the theatre because we're preparing for this weekend, which is our Young Director Festival, which is, we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But it's just, because it's a 4-day week, so we're having to cram all of our preparations into the next couple of days, but we're ready. We're waiting for our audiences now, and the kids are like getting maybe a little bit of nerves before the shows, but they're going to be doing well. So.
Definitely. Now let's get into the heart of the conversation, the 21st century skills through theatre. We'll start off with critical thinking. I often understand that, theatre requires participants to then, analyze the scripts and characters deeply, want to understand how is then your organization programming encourage critical thinking among participants.
Yeah, I mean, these things they're kind of interrelated, aren't they? But what we do at National Children's Theatre is we have a Saturday program for kids from 7 to 17 who come and do classes in singing and dancing and acting. And then we obviously also put on these shows. We do about 9 to 12 shows a year.
Okay.
And that's where our opportunities for graduates come in, because we like to hire emerging graduates, young artists who maybe it's their first job or whatever, and they come and do a show with us, and then people discover them, and then they go on to be to have illustrious careers. But coming to the idea of critical thinking, I mean, I think that, as you say, when you're analyzing a script, there's definitely, you're engaging subject matter in a different way to how you might normally do in the classroom. I think it really just being involved in productions really just makes you, it wakes up your senses in a whole different way, I think. The big one for us that we always notice with kids is collaboration, because you have to learn to work together. You might think that you're going into the production because you want to be a star and you want to be the center of attention, but actually you pretty quickly learn that it's about teamwork and all of that.
And I was about to come into collaboration to then say, theatre productions, require teamwork. If we can discuss how then your projects promote collaboration and what positive outcomes have you then observed from this collaborative efforts?
Absolutely. And I mean, it's we see it all the time, from the classes to the backstage to being, in a big cast production. So I'll give you an example, is that last year we did Lion King Junior, which was with a cast of 50 kids. Shoo. Our youngest child was 7, and they were all under 13. So it was really an amazing experience and an amazing opportunity for them to really understand, especially in a musical like that, you have to be listening to other people. It's all those skills. You have to be listening. You have to realize that, now it's this person's turn to shine, not mine. I have to step back. You're practicing together. It's you really develop a sense of teamwork. Yeah. And with our productions this weekend, so with Young Directors Festival, we have 5 shows, and they're all performed by kids as well. So the directors are graduates, and the designers and the choreographers and the musical directors are all graduates. It's actually called Plug and Play. So we've got something in common with your
True. Yeah.
So there's that, and then the kids themselves, they're not only learning to collaborate within their little team, but also realizing, okay, there's 4 other casts. We have to share space. We have to clean up the space after we finished rehearsing. True. It's all those little things that I think really, those skills are just being developed without you realizing it, right? True. It's just happening naturally.
But now I think, in terms of arts, the most key, and I feel it's very important for one, it's creativity, right? And I know theatre is renowned for fostering creativity, but I want to come and ask you to say, how does involvement in the NCT's theatre programs nurture the skills, and what methods do you use to then assess growth in terms of creativity among students?
I'm a huge believer in the importance of creativity, especially in childhood. I think that in some ways our schools kind of, at some point, I don't know when it is, maybe it's around grade 4, somewhere there, when you start to get more aware of the world, and you start to want to conform. You start to want to fit. You become like everybody else. And so I think our creativity almost lessens as we go through school, unless you do a creative practice or a creative subject. And it's so important. It's so important because it's problem solving. It's confidence in trusting your ideas. It's, there's so many aspects to it. It's learning how to use your voice, your body, visual communication, and also just this thing of like coming up with ideas that nobody else, well, maybe other people have thought about it, but you create something new. I mean, that's such a powerful and empowering thing for a child. Yeah. And then for our young directors, I mean, this has been a really beautiful creative process. So we've given them the prompt, Afro Futures, looking forward, looking back. Yeah. So the task was to create a 20-minute or 30-minute piece of theatre using children as performers. Yeah. but they could choose an African folk tale and then give it a kind of contemporary twist. And this thing of looking forward, looking back was 30 years of democracy, but what is the next 30 years going to look like for our kids? Right? So the creativity part of that has been amazing, because they get to take maybe a tale that everybody will know, like one of the directors is using the story, the tortoise and the hare, right? Everybody knows that story.
True.
And she's giving it a creative twist where it's like they actually, I'm not going to give it away, but there's a little twist at the end. Anyway, it would be lovely if some of your listeners could come through to Parktown to come and witness some of the creativity of our young graduates, because there's some amazing work happening.
True. And you know what? It's as if you know the pointers that I'm definitely going to talk to you about. And you mentioned the problem solving, and I was going to come to that to say, the dynamic nature of theatre can then definitely, one would say, present unforeseen challenges, if you can. In this 2 minutes that we have before we then dive into the Directors Festival, provide examples of how then NCT's theatre activities have then improved, the students' problem-solving abilities.
So there's something that happens in the rehearsal room. I call it a lucky accident, right?
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, let's say someone forgets their line, and you suddenly are there and you've just got a problem you have to solve. You have to step into that gap and do something with it. So that's one example. But then there's also just things like, making props from, maybe you've got a small budget. And I always think, I always say to students, don't cry about a small budget, because it actually forces you to be creative.
Yeah, true.
And we see that all the time. So all kinds of problem-solving skills, whether it's interpersonal conflict resolution, something like that. It's just about being resourceful within yourself.
You know what? I'll touch on the last maybe two pointers or skills, and then we'll move into that particular Directors Festival. Let's talk about communication. Effective communication is a cornerstone of theatre. I want to understand, how does your organization then utilize theatrical activities to then improve both verbal and non-verbal communication skills in young people?
Thanks for the question. This is great. I mean, I really love talking about this, because it's just so rewarding to see young people who are maybe not that confident for whatever reason, and then they slowly start to build their confidence in communicating. And we actually offer, last year we had some public speaking workshops, and it's all about learning to use your voice effectively. So it's the expression in your voice, the articulation, the clarity, all of that. So it's actual voice training that we do, which helps. And then also there's an awareness that comes when you do the physicality, the physical part of the playmaking process. You become more aware of things like gestures, eye contact, those kinds of things that are such an important part of communication. But the big one for me is listening. Because, we're always so quick to just speak and be the one who speaks first and all of that. But actually learning to listen and to really take someone's presence in, someone's humanity, someone's, being in a rehearsal process or working, whether it's in a script or improvisation, there's nothing like theatre to teach you how to really listen.
And I think I'll definitely say the keynote of that particular conversation is actually comprehension, being able to comprehend one another on stage. Ms. Tamara,
to make yourself heard, and to even if you are not, I mean, we do this code switching all the time in our theatre productions in South Africa, where we 1 minute we're speaking in English, the next minute we might be speaking in isiZulu, Sesotho, whatever. but because of the body, and because of how the body communicates, we can actually comprehend each other. We can find an expressive language that we share.
Yeah, you know, just on Thursdays here at TUTF, on this particular platform, we have a segment where we call Echoes of Creativity, Amplifying Artistic Voices. Just last week, we had a young emerging thespian by the name of Akona Wetsivani, played very big productions, and he was saying to me, Polelo, there is no way that you can learn all of these things that you want to learn if you haven't gone through the journey of theater. Theater is the teacher of them all. If people haven't really touched that space of theater, they definitely have to come in. And with that being said, I want to bring in the question of empathy development, right? To say then, engaging in theater often involves exploring diverse perspectives. And I want to understand, in what ways do your programs enhance empathy among participants? And how does then this benefit their personal and professional development?
Beautiful question. Yeah. Listen, there's nothing like, I mean, you are in a theater production, you are literally being in somebody else's shoes, right? You play another character. You have to think, okay, well, how is this character feeling in this moment? Why are they reacting like this? What is it in me that I can relate to in this character, even if it's somebody very different from me? And so just that act of imagining yourself in someone's shoes is already taking you out of yourself and finding a shared humanity with somebody else. So I think that's so important for and yeah, so that happens in rehearsal process. It happens even just through reading literature and reading plays. It happens, or improvisation, or that thing of just where we create a character. We might create a character ourselves in an improvisation, because we do a lot of that kind of thing. And then you start to realize, we may be encouraging children to just go and observe and study people in your family or in your community and find out, what is it about that person that you can take into your character and all of that. So it really is an incredible skill and an opportunity to learn about, I often say we're training people to do theatre, but it's not necessarily that we're training them to become a performer or a star in the future or to be in the stage. We're training them in the business of just being human, right? Empathy, communication, creativity, all those things.
All of those. And I think one of the biggest you can take, it's leadership, right? Because now often a theater offers numerous leadership opportunities. I want to understand also, coming in from your own organization, how does the NCT's programming cultivate leadership skills in young people? And what impact have you then observed in their confidence and decision-making abilities? Oh, Ms. Tamara, are you still there? I think you're having issues with your
network. Yes, we're developing Yes?
No, there was a little bit of a glitch. Yeah, no, it's no problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that's actually one of the things that NCT has identified as its core mission is we are developing the leaders of the future through theatre, through participating in theatre programs and through our classes. And we do have we do have a particular focus on leadership. Like last year, we had a whole term we dedicated to leadership, particularly around the time of elections, and that was important to us. But we also just understand it as all of the things we've just spoken about, all those qualities, so creativity, communication, confidence, all of those things are what we would hope a good leader has, right? We want our leaders to have more humanity. We want our leaders to be, confident and decisive, but also to be able to listen and also to be able to collaborate and share space and those kinds of things. and we see it with our particularly with some of the teenagers who've been with our programs for a long time, who've been attending our workshops for a long time. We've seen that they are stepping into their own power, and coming back to the Lion King experience, we actually were doing this consciously using the theme of leadership, which is obviously a big theme of the Lion King, and we were working in schools with teachers and grade 4 to 6 learners, just talking about this theme of leadership and how it's about, I guess, personal responsibility. So you lead yourself first.
Yeah. You know what, Miss Tamara, it is definitely 5 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock. I would definitely want us to take a very quick ad break, and when we come back from that, we'll then dive straight into the Young Directors Festival, and we'll definitely, and when we're done with that particular part, we'll then move directly to the opportunities that await the graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, 5 minutes before the hour 8 o'clock, and I have to remind you that you are still listening to TUT FM 96.2, amplifying voices, empowering lives. You can definitely contact us or follow us on our social media platforms. We are at Facebook at TUT FM 96.2. We are going live there. You can catch this conversation as it unfolds. X, Instagram, and eventually TikTok. We are TUT FM _962. You can definitely send in your questions, your voice notes, anything that you want to know about this particular conversation on 012-382-9257. Please don't go anywhere. We'll definitely be back. It is definitely 8 o'clock and the dot, and you are still listening to TUT FM 96.2, amplifying voices, empowering lives. This is Plug a Graduate, and tonight we are speaking of the 21st century skills through theatre and the Young Directors Festival. Miss Tamara, before we went for a quick ad break, I told you that when we come back, we'll definitely dive into the Young Directors Festival. Didn't say this at the beginning of our conversation, but even I, for myself, am one of a director, emerging young directors within the South African theatre space. Definitely want to get into it, and I do think maybe I'll also take a few notes that I can definitely use in my own productions. But to start it off here, I want to understand the festival objectives. To say now, the Young Directors Festival aims to showcase new productions by emerging directors. What are then the primary goals of this festival, and how do they align with the NCT's mission to then inspire and empower South African children?
Yeah, so the main goal of this festival is to, I guess, create jobs. We were fortunate to get a grant from the NAC through the President's Economic Stimulus Package, the PESP fund, which is all about creating jobs, because we know that we have a jobs crisis with our youth. We also know that we have people walking around with 1, 2, 3 degrees, and then they're, so that's where all those 21st century skills come into being, because it's up to us to create those future careers for ourselves in the creative industries. We have so much to offer, and it's I believe it's really a great underexplored opportunity for our youth. Yeah. So that's the idea, is that we create a platform we've got about 35 young creatives who are involved in the festival, and then other people in additional support roles as well. So in total, I guess we're creating about, I think, 58 jobs.
Huge number.
Obviously, those are not permanent contract jobs or whatever. It's small jobs. It's what we call CCI jobs. But the idea is it's a stimulus, right? So you have this opportunity, you've developed a play, and then you can, you've got something, I guess, something on your CV that you can leverage later on. And then hopefully also you've had people coming to see your work and that kind of thing. So the idea is, I guess, also to give exposure to young directors. The platform is a little bit unique. It's not that we went around and looked for existing productions. They actually had the opportunity to work with our kids. Yeah.
And I was going to come to that. You say, diversity in terms of storytelling, it then enriches the theatrical experience. I wanted to know how were these young directors selected for the festival, and what criteria was then used to ensure a wide range of perspectives and even also narratives?
Sure. So we put out a call, and the prompt was, as I explained earlier, this idea of looking forward, looking back, Afrofutures, looking forward, looking back. So we had just a little prompt, and then we asked people to write just a
network issues, it's a lot, but we'll get there.
Short, and then we selected, I think we made a short list of about 10 from all of our applicants, and then they came to pitch. And from the pitches, we actually chose 6. One of them unfortunately had to drop out because they got another got another opportunity at the same time.
Very understandable.
They had to choose. Yeah.
Very understandable.
Which is great for them. Yeah.
Also, I know one thing that is very important when coming into the arts is mentorship, right? It is very crucial, and I wanted to understand what mentorship opportunities then also does the festival provide, and how do they contribute to the directors' professional growth and overall success of their productions.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did provide a structured mentorship. So it was initially just a kind of an input, so a workshop, and we had a directing workshop, we had a design workshop, we had a stage management workshop, a musical director, and a choreographer, all just giving their kind of input, and then they were also available to just consult with the directors, but we kind of gave them their space as well, right? We didn't want to put in too much, like lean on them too heavily or look over their shoulders. We wanted to give them the space to do their thing. And it might have just been that we came to watch a rehearsal and give them feedback, that kind of thing. But I think because of the way the theatre is, there's a lot of there's a professional director working in the space at the same time, so you're getting to learn how the space works and how we are, those things that you don't necessarily learn in the classroom, but that you learn by being engaged in a professional theatre space. So we hope that we've been able to give them a sense of what's expected, but also enough freedom to play around
and let out their creativity beast into very understand. And when you speak of that word engagement, I want to come into audience engagement. Engaging with audience is vital for the success of any festival. I want to understand how does the Young Directors Festival then will be engaging with audience, and what strategies are then employed to attract diverse attendees, including those maybe even coming in from the Soshanguve community and even surrounding areas.
Well, this is where I hope this conversation is also going to help us. So thank you for the opportunity to engage with your audiences. Look, it's always
network problems there, Miss Tamara, can tell you.
It's always a tricky. I'm going to try and move.
Please, let
me try and move. And see if that helps. Let's see, how's that? Is that it?
Clear.
Is that better?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Just to say about audiences, it's always tricky, especially with children's theatre, because kids these days, you've got to convince the parents that this is a worthwhile thing to do. Even watching theatre helps with those things we were talking about earlier, empathy and creativity and all of that. So we hope that parents do understand that it's a very valuable thing to take your kids to see the theatre, to see a show. Look, we've got a database of schools that we engage in various ways. We've obviously got the families of the kids who are performing in the plays, who I hope are going to bring all of their cousins and so on. I won't lie, it's a busy weekend. There's lots going on in Joburg this weekend. It's Human Rights Weekend. But we have the whole of Saturday and Sunday morning. We have 5 really exciting shows. So let's hope that people are going to come and pull in.
Yeah. And you know what? Before I come into another question, I want to ask you in your own personal opinion to say which is better, but you coming in to have worked with the kids for the longest of time, maybe you then decide with the kids, but the question would be which one is more better, working with the young adults or kids in terms of making a theater play? I for one tried to work with young kids, I think about 2 years back. Couldn't.
It's a specialized thing.
Yeah.
For some people really enjoy it. For me personally, I do enjoy it. But it's different plays require different things, and I think it just depends on what you enjoy. I like both. I've worked with like your grade 4 to 6 kind of age group. I've worked with teenagers, and I've worked with obviously students and graduates and so forth. You know what I find really exciting is when it's mixed, and that's what this festival is about. Is we've got graduates working with young. I think there's 2 of our directors are working with small, well, not small, like none of them are under 7, but at least 2 of the shows have got like teenagers, I'd say like 16-year-olds, and it's rewarding. We have such talented young people in our communities, and we've been partnering with doing some of our casting at National School of the Arts because they're just up the road from us.
Oh yes, yeah.
Really, I mean, I've seen performances from some of these young teenagers that would just blow you away. So, it's not the kind of thing to say, oh, come and watch, the kids are, it's cute and it's just, whatever. It's more than that. It's really powerful.
Yeah. And, I think for the past 2 years, I've also had the privilege to work for another production house where we're playing, taking adaptations, making from short stories, playing them. But it was for an audience of, I think, the grade 9s and grade 10. And I've come to realize that it's not a child's play to entertain kids. It's not. It's definitely not. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Sure. Yeah. It's a lot.
Absolutely. And they are your most honest audience.
True.
So if you are creating, let's say as a playwright or as a director, if you create something and you're doing it just to indulge yourself, that audience will let you know very quickly whether they find it entertaining or not.
True. And I remember at a given moment of time, there is one particular friend of mine who's also a director, emerging director. He then loves working with young kids. All right. Are you back, Miss Tamara? Something just went off here. Oh yeah, you back? Are you back? All right.
Just gonna move around.
Yeah, it's that network issue we spoke about earlier. I'm going to give you a minute there and remind our listeners that they can definitely follow up with this conversation on Facebook on TUTFM 96.2. We are there at X and Insta and TikTok at TUTFM_962. You can definitely engage us on a particular call or even send a WhatsApp note or message on 012-382-9257. Miss Tamara, are you back?
I am back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
It's a network issues. There's coming in a little bit of a chilly wind. It might disrupt a lot of things. I was then saying a friend of mine did work with the kids, a couple of the age group, I think grade 4 to grade 6. Those kids are Miss Tamara, brutal in terms of giving criticism. They'll tell you like, no. We couldn't understand. It's because you get on stage and they'll just look at you. And then you'd see that I go into the script, it doesn't work. I need a little bit of improvisation so that I could get their moods riled up. But without that, they'll just look at you and you see that what I wrote here, it's not going anywhere. But let's come in and speak about skills development, right? In terms of, participating in the festival definitely offers practical experience. I just wanted to know that how does the involvement enhance, director skills in areas such as like those we did attack into leadership, communication, creativity, and even though the question leads into, say, preparing them for future challenges in the arts industry.
Yeah, look, I mean, they've had 8 weeks to work on these productions, but they've only had the weekends. So they've had to really bring their best game, I guess, to in terms of not crafting the whole work. And each director was given the opportunity to get a team of another 4 people, right? So some people might have chosen a choreographer and a musical director. Others might have gone more towards design.
Yeah.
So it's really understanding how your skills fit in with other creative skills and how to bring those together as a team. But I think, if you're talking about skills development, the best way to hone your skills is to just practice and to try. And it's not easy for young directors to, you get stuck in this kind of catch-22 when you're a young director or a graduate, where you want to put on work and you need a portfolio, you need a CV, you need some stuff under your belt, but it's before you can apply for funding. But then it's like you kind of stuck. It's a catch-22. So this is an opportunity for people to, how can we put it, to experiment in a way, and to try things out in a safe environment, in a contained environment, and then to have this thing of, you've got a cast of young actors who are keen, they're ready, they've got a little bit of skill because they've been attending our workshops program, but they're not, you don't have to pay them, they're not professional actors. So that's already and it's an opportunity to, I want to say it's an opportunity to fail, but that's because I have a very particular way of thinking about failure. For me, failure is about experimentation and trying, and there isn't, I don't think of failure in the way that people normally use that word, like, oh, you failed. It's not that at all. It's about, you want to be able to make your mistakes.
True. Definitely.
And it's in the rehearsal process you can make those mistakes. In the actual showcasing with an audience, as you say, your audience is going to tell you how you've done. But I can say, having watched all of these productions last, 2 weekends ago, that they are all exceptional. There's some really beautiful work, so I'm excited.
All right, Ms. Tamara, before I take another question, we're having a question coming in from one of our listeners. Please do listen to it and please answer brutally, so like your audience would have done. Did you get that, Ms. Tamara?
Not at all. I don't have the feed that you have, so you're going to have to tell me.
Even coming in from my side, it's low. I couldn't really get it. No, let's have the technical people do fix that quickly, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can only hear you.
Yeah, we're not getting it. All right, yeah. It's a live radio, Ms. Tamara. Such things happen. If it was pre-recorded, would have then dialed with everything. Yeah.
I love live. I always love live because I like the opportunity for things to evolve in surprising ways.
All right, let's try it one more.
Good evening. I'm Reno Paladi and I'm listening from Deepsloot. So I have a question. The question for today is, where should one start if they want to become the next big actor in this planet or in this world?
You got it?
Come to the Children's Theatre. No, seriously, I mean, I think if you want to be an actor, it's my first thing would be, and you asked me to be brutal, so I'm going to. My first thing would be to ask why. Why do you want to be an actor? Because, you know, we've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, we've got plenty of platforms that will allow you to, whatever it is that your performances, your whatever, that, so you can take that into your own hands. If you want to be an actor because you want to work in theatre, then there's a particular discipline that comes with that.
True.
And, you know, there's lots of opportunities to train depending on where you are. There's the Market Lab offers a very beautiful program, but at Children's Theatre, we take kids from 7 to 17. And it's the Saturday workshops. You start there. You don't need any previous experience to join. You do our basic program, and then if you have a particular interest or talent, then you can join our afternoon program, which is what we call the NACTIs, which is more specialized. And yeah, look us up. It's nctheatresa.org is our website. Give us a call and you can maybe participate in one of our programs. But also if you want to just do your own reading around, you know, looking at different kinds of plays, educate yourself, go to the theatre, hang out in spaces, go to festivals, hang out in spaces where other people are doing that kind of thing, and you'll find your way.
Sure.
If it's meant for you, you'll find it.
And definitely have to say, for those who are based in Pretoria, they can definitely go to the South African State Theatre. It's free, it's open to everyone. Check out shows that are there. Have we got another voice note coming in, Mr. Molefe? No, nothing. Let's continue. Yeah, when we spoke of coming in also to the festival, you know, you said the directors had a space of 8 weeks, right, to prepare for that particular festival. I want to understand what challenges they face. You know, organizing a festival often involves overcoming various obstacles. Now, I want to understand what challenges have arisen in terms of organizing the Young Directors Festival.
Plenty. There's always challenges. That's where our problem-solving skills have to come in.
Yeah.
Look, we are quite a small space and we're very busy. So we actually are sharing space with another production that we have on at the moment, which is called The Wonderful World of Beatrix Potter. So that, just the scheduling around, and then we also run our workshops. So, you know, we've got a beautiful grounds and campus in Parktown. It's opposite the education campus in Parktown. But our spaces are busy. And so now we've gone from our usual programming to you know, having 5 more rehearsals that all need their spaces. So that's been one thing, is having to share, rotate different spaces. Sometimes we have to work outside for whatever reason. And then I guess, you know, we have this problem in our country and in Joburg where transport is always an issue. So sometimes kids not getting, and you know, it's kids who are having to travel. We don't want to put our kids in any kind of danger. So there's, you know, I mean, that's the one, I'm sure that's the thing that the parents would say first, is that it's getting them to rehearsals is always a thing. And so I think especially as we get closer to performance time, some of our directors have been stressing about maybe kids being late because they're young, they're kids, they haven't yet learned the discipline and the etiquette of theatre. That's what they're doing with us, is they're learning that. So they might not realize that if you miss a rehearsal, you put the whole show
in jeopardy,
at risk, right? and then you have to learn that the hard way. So
what?
So I think those have been our main challenges. Probably if the directors were here, they would have other things that they would say, but that's what I've noticed just from hearing.
You know what? I'm going to take maybe last two questions, and then we'll take a quick ad break. And when we come back from that, we'll definitely delve into the opportunities that are there for graduates. But I'm getting a sign that before we do take those, there is a question coming in from one of our listeners. Please do listen to it.
Lucy, I'm listening from Shaga Residence, and I want to ask this question that how long does it actually take for someone who wants to be a creative to make it in the industry? Thank you.
Let's take it again, Miss Tamara, because at the beginning there was a little bit of distortion, but let's take it again once more.
Hi, Polelo N Madisa. My name is Mpomadu, also known as Lucy. I'm listening from Shaga Residence, and I want to ask this question that how long does it actually take for someone who wants to be a creative to make it in the industry? Thank
you. Got that, Miss Tamara?
I did. I mean, I think it's a bit of a tricky one. I would want to know a bit more from her about what kind of creative what kind of path she's looking for. And how do we define making it? I mean, if your craft can feed you, I guess that's making it, as far as I'm concerned. I think other people have big ideas about, you
winning the
Hollywood,
Oscars,
or you're famous, or winning Oscars.
Yeah.
For me, that's not it. It's about if you can live from what you do.
Yeah.
And we all have to supplement in various ways. It's just the nature of the business. You might have to teach a little bit. You might have to, but I would say, it really depends. There's no real answer to that. It might be that you go and do a 2-year program. You get lucky. You get cast in a production, and it does really well, and then you'll get cast in the next one, and you'll get cast in the next one.
True.
But the other thing that I always say to people is that, it's not only about how good you are and how talented you are. It's about how hard you work.
Yeah.
And also how pleasant you are to work with. True. I know that sounds crazy, but actually, almost every job I've ever got in my whole freelance career has been a recommendation from somebody, right?
Else, yeah.
So, and that's because, you've got to be, there's 3 things you have to do. You have to be really good at what you do. You have to be on time, right? You have to be punctual and professional, and you have to be either easy to get along with. You have to be 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe not all 3, but if you're late, then you have to be really good and really fun to work with in order to compensate for your punctuality. If you're, you've got to be 2 out of 3.
Definitely. You know what time it is? It is definitely 4 minutes before we hit the mark of past. Take a quick break. Miss Tamara will definitely be back to continue this conversation. And when we come back from that, I want us to then move the focus in terms of the opportunities that are there for the graduates. Please don't go anywhere. We'll definitely be back. It is definitely at 29 before, or no, actually after the hour 8 o'clock. We told you very quick ad break because we wanted to fix some technical issues coming in there. But no, a little bit of them. Don't get it, but Ms. Tamara, while we're still there, we got one voice note coming in from one of our listeners. Please do listen to it, and we'll eventually go on with the conversation.
Hi, Ms. Tamara. We feel that,
aka Pluto, the coolest planet in the cosmos, and I am listening from TUT Soshanguve North Campus. And I have a question. What opportunities are in high demand when it comes to the creative space?
Let's take it again, Ms. Tamara, because at the beginning there was a little bit of a glitch. I told you technical stuff, but let's take it again once more.
Hi everybody, I'm Wikanyo, aka Pluto, the coolest planet in the cosmos, and I am listening from TUT Soshanguve North Campus. And I have a question. What opportunities are in high demand when it comes to the creative space?
You got that?
I did. I'm not sure how to answer. It's one of those things where our industry is still growing, and I think there's a lot of need for people to be resourceful themselves. But I think there's an opportunity at the moment is for people to really, I know that I'm always looking for people who are able to bring a lot of different skills to the table. So you might have your performance skills, but there's also technical, and I think AI is bringing a lot of opportunities in ways that we haven't even explored yet. But I think producers and the technical side of things, I think there's definitely opportunity there for people to really get resourceful around technical skills, editing, that kind of thing. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff, we think about the performance side of things, and honestly there are so many talented people out there. If you can be a talented singer who also knows how to plug in a microphone and operate a mixer or whatever, then we're talking. Then you've got some practical skills as well. So I always think that people should do a little, skill themselves up in just something. My grandfather always used to say, have something to fall back on. And I think that was good advice, because as long as you've got your eyes set on your main thing, let's say you want to be a singer or whatever it is, it's also really useful to learn the other parts of the business, right? And we can take our careers into our own hands these days. So learn how to use the technical side of things. Learn how to do Google ads and how to market yourself that kind of thing. Marketing, there's always opportunities in that area as well. So I think you need to think about what it is that you really enjoy doing, and then how can you upskill yourself in that area.
You know what, Ms. Tamara, before we get into the opportunities that are there, we'll definitely take a caller coming in. It's fine right from this particular point. Let's have a caller coming in. Zama, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
I cannot really complain. We are alive here. And yourself?
Okay, thank you. I'm in Centurion. So I just wanted to find out something. So Mr. Mars earlier on spoke about emotional intelligence and how theater helps kids kind of strengthen their emotional intelligence, right? And knowing myself and knowing me and wanting to go into theater, I know I lack emotional intelligence, and I've seen things on Generations or fellow Patrick Porter where people get up in your face and I'm like, I'm going to beat you up. So how do I master that, and knowing that it's all just a play and it has absolutely nothing to do with me?
Ms. Tamara, did you get the question?
I didn't. I got a little bit of it, but I'm afraid I missed the first part completely. So I wonder if someone wouldn't mind just repeating that.
Zama, you did you hear Ms. Tamara what she said? She said that she failed to get the first part of your question. If you can, please do repeat that question.
Okay. So what I was saying that initially during the first part of the interview, she spoke about how theater enhances your emotional intelligence, right? And it helps these kids understand and express their emotions better. It teaches them empathy, listening, and adaptability, right? Yeah. So I'm saying, as a person that knows myself and I want to go into theater, but I know that I lack emotional intelligence, and having watched theater plays like your Othello, your Beatrix Potter, Ubalo, Generations, I know that characters get all up in your face. And how do I then master that it has absolutely nothing to do with me and it's all just a play? I know it enhances your emotional intelligence, but what if we lack that altogether? How do I then adapt into knowing that it's all just a play? It has absolutely nothing to do with me, but everything to do with the character that I'm currently portraying or playing.
Right. Definitely, Miss Tamara will definitely take that. Zama, you'll definitely be listening through your radio when Miss Tamara answers that. Now, Miss Tamara, I do hope that you did get the question, and I also got it. Please do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think it's also, I'm just curious about whether she means for children or for like herself.
I think she means for herself, definitely means for herself.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound to me like you lack emotional intelligence. I think even just that self-awareness to be able to the way you phrased the question sounds like you have a lot of emotional intelligence. So I wouldn't, I'm not sure I believe you on that one, but just, but I think it's a really valid
question
point, especially with, we see it with kids as well. Sometimes it can be hard to separate yourself from the character, and it comes with the training, I guess, and with practice. And if you're repeating, that's part of why we do the repetition of rehearsals, is to become, I guess, practiced in a certain way that you do that. But it's a good point in the sense that I do think that some of our most brilliant young actors really struggle with, you're so vulnerable on stage, you're so exposed, you're so it's like emotionally exposed, and it can be very hard to de-roll afterwards. And I think that's also something we need to maybe teach in our training, which we maybe don't do that. And that's where we also see a lot of our young people in the industry. There is definitely a problem with substance abuse or alcohol use or whatever, because we almost don't know how to deal with the energy of a performance. And so that's something I've just noticed over the years in terms of our mental health and all of that. So, I mean, it comes back to just the basics of the craft, There's breath work that helps you to ground yourself. There's this kind of having to be very aware and to, I guess, tell yourself and, remind yourself in the way that you just did, in the way that you phrased your question. It's about listening to your body as well. And having fun. I mean, I think we underestimate the role of humor and fun, and because as much as we need to take our craft seriously, we also need to let off steam and have that enjoyment, and know when you can laugh and play and when it's time to focus and be serious. I don't know if that answers the question at all, but I think that there's I suppose if I was to say it in one word, it would just be practice. You have to practice.
I'll definitely reiterate on those words, because I remember 2023, we then won an award for the best production coming in from the Hyper Festival. I won an award for the best director and best actor on that production. It took time to eventually tap out of the character that I was playing, because I was playing the devil. And Lesage, our technical guy, I remember we were just speaking on Monday, and he was saying to me, man, I had a problem, because he had not known me before that. And he was saying, I remember even when I met you around the streets, I would get mad at you for the stuff that you were playing. I'm like, no, but man, that was my character. Maybe the aura left behind when I would walk around the streets, people wouldn't see me in that particular city, but it was just the aura. But I'll definitely reiterate on your words to then say practice. One has to definitely practice until practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. That's
Definitely.
what we say.
Any voice notes? No, we're good. Now let's come into some of the opportunities that are there. Looking at the time that we have left, it is definitely 20 minutes before the hour 9 o'clock. And I have to remind our fellow listeners that we are live on Facebook at TUT FM 96.2, and you can definitely follow us on TUT on X, Insta, and even TikTok at TUT FM _962. You can send in those voice notes, your questions on 012-382-9257. Now let's come into the opportunities that are there for graduate Ms. Tamara. One thing I know that, the transition from academic theatre training to professional practice can definitely be challenging. I want to understand what structured career pathways does your organization provide for theatre graduates, and how does this role, contribute to their long-term professional development within the industry?
Yeah, look, I mean, the Young Directors Festival is the big one in a way at the moment, because it allows not just for directors but also for designers, musical directors, choreographers, and stage managers to have an opportunity to
network,
to work on something tangible and professional. Our emphasis at the theatre is on children. So all of our training programs are actually for children, kids, rather than having a structured year-round thing for graduates. However, as I mentioned earlier, we do love to work with young graduates in our productions, and we do about 12 productions, well, between 9 and 12 a year. And so that's really just a case of following our social pages to look out for any announcements, but also we deal with all of the agencies, the actors, the performance agents. So if there's an audition coming up, then we let people know, and we're always on the lookout for new shining young people, and there are lots of shining young people out there who have maybe had their first opportunity with us, and then they've gone on to win an A Lady award or be in the pantomime or whatever it is. So I think there's that side of it. The other opportunities are, I guess, to come and, as I said earlier, to come and watch theatre. And by being there and showing up in those spaces and networking with other young creatives, then I keep saying this, but we have to be resourceful in ourselves, to build the industry, because I mean, there's so much potential. I really believe that theatre and film, there's so much potential we should be exporting. We have stories, we have talent. What we really need now is for governments and funders and whoever else to just give us the funding and the opportunity so that we can really build this thing, and to support each other, not to be too stuck in a competitive thing, but to support each other, plug each other, right? Plug each other's.
True, definitely, And then you noted something about networking that makes me wonder to say, do even at some point host events where then people could come network, graduates could connect with the industry professionals, potential employers, and even fellow artists?
We are definitely looking at that as part of our programming, is to have a kind of a careers day for young people, and then also to look at maybe a roadshow that can go to schools for the that grade 11 moment where you are trying to figure out what to do with your life. We also work with the department of not the department. What am I trying to say? The School of Education across the road at Wits, and so young teachers, because theatre in education is also a big opportunity, and I think that's something that we are really starting to see. It's been slow, but it is happening, is that people are starting to see the value of theatre in schools. And so if you are interested in education at all, there are opportunities, I think, to bring creativity into the classroom. And there's been a few programs of artists in schools, or that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities. It's just about, I think, where you feel drawn to and how you wanna choose to spend your energy.
And I thank you so much for that, because you eventually touched on the next point that I was going to come into about teaching opportunity, to say, many graduates or people then develop a passion for mentorship and arts education. So I wanted to ask if there were any opportunities that they could come, teach, or even mentor current students at NCT.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people can, if you've got the right skill set and the right mindset, then there might be a space for you to come and maybe intern with us or something like that. I think it's just, it's one of those things. You've got to keep knocking on all the doors you can. So please just follow our pages. That's what I would do, is encourage people to follow our Facebook and Instagram pages, because we will announce, we still, I suppose, like many theatres, still recovering from COVID, getting back to full strength in terms of our programming. Our vision, our dream is to really have a sort of a talent pipeline from schools. Young people come to our workshops, they graduate, they're in our productions, audiences come and watch our productions, they think this is amazing, they want to see more theatre. And that's the thing. I mean, as an audience, if people sort of say, like, how do we grow the industry? Go and watch theatre, be an audience member. You're already, buy a ticket, buy a ticket. We underestimate the value of just that simple thing in supporting our theatre. So if you're passionate about theatre and you want to know how to start, how to break in, go and buy a ticket. Go to the Market Theatre, go to the Children's Theatre, go wherever, watch a show.
And I think I wouldn't do justice to myself if I don't ask this question, given that you are in the UK as we speak now, and it is one of my I think I misheard, right? Was it? Yeah, it is one of my dreams actually, to play at the National Theatre of London. I wanted to ask, to say, is there any international exposure that is there, any exchange programs to broaden one artist's perspective?
Watch this space. Not at the moment, but watch this space. We're keen to explore all of those options.
And I'll definitely let you go in a couple of minutes. I just want to take one last question coming in to say, in terms of festival participation, showcasing one's work at a festival can be a game changer for young directors and play graduates. Now, are graduates eligible to participate in or submit your work for future festivals that are coming in?
So we do the Young Directors Festival once a year. But we are looking to explore some other opportunities, perhaps maybe around Heritage Month, where we can, I guess, have a testing ground for young people, because we want to have. We want to be able to support the playwrights and directors of the future. And we definitely send us your proposals. We're always keen, especially if you're a playwright. We're always keen to look for new original works, original scripts. that's always exciting to read what people are busy with. So yeah, just be in touch, have a conversation with us. We're very very welcoming, very open to hearing your ideas as well, and what kinds of things you'd like to see on the stage. What kinds of things you'd like your kids to watch, because let's face it, I mean, I don't know how many of your listeners have kids, but maybe they've got younger siblings or whatever, and let's face it, our kids are spending a lot of time online and on screens and on devices. It's not that great for them. It's better to watch a live show and have real eyes staring back at you. You know?
You know what, Ms. Tamara, I think that is the end of my questioning. But before I let you go, I want to ask you and even give you this moment to give one would say a word of encouragement to all directors that are upcoming, young thespians. What core message do you leave them with?
Don't give up. Don't give up. There's an idea in your head, there's a vision in your head, and you can bring it to life. You've got a magical craft. You know, it's a real privilege to be able to do this kind of work. So don't give up even when it gets tough. And watch theatre. Yes, definitely. And come and see our we've got, so it's the 22nd and the 23rd, Saturday and Sunday. We've got 5 beautiful shows. It would be great if people could come through and see what we have to offer.
And you know what, Ms. Tamara, as we wrap up this insightful conversation, it is clear that theatre is more than just entertainment. It is a platform of growth, learning, and career development. I want to say thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening. Please, do have yourself a lovely evening. Good night.
Thank you so much, Polelo. That was a great conversation. Thank you.
Now, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 9 minutes before Dire William Masinya comes in to take over this hot seat, I want to take a very quick ad break, and when we come back, we'll give you our closing remarks and close off this show.
The Groundbreakers, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. on TUT FM.